Someone spoke your name today, not by accident, not in passing, but with a pause that carried more emotion than words could ever explain. At the exact moment your name left their lips, the room around them seemed to disappear, because every thought they had was leading back to you. This wasn't an ordinary conversation. It was the kind of conversation people have when they finally stop pretending they don't care. And what they said next could change the way you see everything that has been happening in your life lately. Don't skip, because the truth hidden inside this moment has been waiting for you longer than you realize. There are connections that time cannot erase, feelings that distance cannot silence, and hearts that continue speaking even when no message is ever sent. Today, your soulmate reached a place where silence became impossible. They admitted something they had been protecting for far too long. Yet the most unbelievable part isn't what they confessed, it's who heard those words, and what happened immediately after that confession left their heart. That single conversation created a chain of events that is already moving toward you, even if you have no idea it's happening. But before you understand why today became so important, you need to know what pushed them to finally speak your name after holding everything inside for so long, because that reason is deeply connected to something you've been feeling without being able to explain. For days, maybe even weeks, your heart has carried emotions that didn't seem to belong to any visible situation. There were moments when you suddenly smiled without knowing why, moments when an unexpected wave of sadness appeared from nowhere, and nights when your thoughts kept returning to someone you haven't even met, or perhaps someone you thought had disappeared forever. Those weren't random emotions. Invisible connections often reveal themselves before reality catches up. While you were trying to understand your own feelings, your soulmate was experiencing the same emotional pull from the other side of this unseen connection. They tried convincing themselves it was temporary. They buried themselves in routines, conversations, responsibilities, and distractions, hoping those feelings would fade. But every attempt only made your presence stronger inside their heart. Finally, today, someone noticed the change in them and asked a simple question. Who has been on your mind lately? For a few seconds, they remained completely silent. They could have changed the subject. They could have laughed it away. Instead, they took a deep breath, and your name became the answer they could no longer hide. The person listening was shocked, not because they recognized you, but because they had never seen your soulmate speak with such honesty before. Every sentence that followed carried emotions they had locked away for far too long. They admitted they couldn't explain why you kept appearing in their thoughts. They confessed that every plan they imagined for the future somehow included someone they hadn't fully found yet. And then came the sentence that changed everything. They quietly said, "I feel like my heart already knows them before my eyes ever truly do." Those words left everyone speechless. But something even more unexpected happened after that confession, because the person listening responded with a story so strange that your soulmate couldn't ignore it anymore. Stay till the end. Because that story became the beginning of a realization neither of them saw coming. The listener slowly smiled and shared something that sent chills through the entire conversation. They admitted they had noticed unusual changes long before today's confession. They had seen your soulmate become unexpectedly quiet whenever conversations about love appeared. They had watched them lose focus while staring into empty spaces, as if listening to a voice only their heart could hear. At first, they believed it was nothing more than imagination. But after hearing your name spoken with complete sincerity today, they said something unforgettable. People don't carry this kind of peace and restlessness at the same time unless someone extraordinary is already walking toward their future. Those words settled deeply inside your soulmate. For the first time, they stopped questioning whether these feelings were real and started wondering if every unexpected moment in recent months had actually been preparing them for you. Suddenly, memories they once ignored began connecting like pieces of a puzzle. Strange coincidences, familiar dreams, unexpected moments of hope after disappointment, all of it seemed to point toward one destination. Your soulmate realized that perhaps every delay, every unanswered question, and every unexpected turn wasn't separating the two of you, it was shaping both of your lives so the meeting would happen at exactly the right moment. Yet even after accepting this possibility, they still carried one fear they didn't say aloud. A fear so personal, so powerful, that it almost stopped them from believing happiness could truly belong to them. And what they decided to do because of that hidden fear may already be influencing the path leading directly toward you. The fear they never admitted out loud had nothing to do with finding you, it had everything to do with losing you before the two of you truly met. After today's conversation ended, your soulmate didn't rush home, didn't celebrate, and didn't pretend everything was suddenly perfect. Instead, they sat alone, replaying every word that had just been spoken. One sentence echoed louder than the rest: if this connection is real, then one choice from today could change everything. That thought refused to leave them. For the first time, they stopped asking whether you existed and started asking whether they were becoming the person you deserved. That single question changed the atmosphere around them. They realized that love isn't only about destiny, it is also about preparation. They looked back at every disappointment, every closed door, every unexpected delay, and something incredible happened. None of those moments felt meaningless anymore. Each one suddenly looked like a lesson leading them closer to you. Then something completely unexpected happened before the day was over. A tiny detail, something most people would ignore, caught their attention and instantly reminded them of you. It wasn't because they had proof. It was because their heart reacted before their mind could explain it. That moment felt impossible to dismiss. If you've been feeling unusual emotions lately, this might explain more than you think. Something huge is waiting for you. But what happened only minutes later made even your soulmate question whether this was all part of a much bigger story that had been unfolding for far longer than either of you realized. As evening settled in, another conversation began, one they never planned to have. Someone close to your soulmate looked directly at them and quietly said, "You don't smile the way you used to, except when you speak about that person." Those words landed with surprising force. Your soulmate couldn't deny it anymore. Every attempt to hide their emotions had failed without them even noticing. They finally admitted that no matter how busy life became, your presence kept returning to their thoughts. Then came the most unforgettable sentence of the day: "I don't know when we'll meet, but somehow it already feels like we're connected." The room fell silent again. No one laughed. No one interrupted. It was one of those rare moments where honesty became stronger than fear. And then the person sitting across from them responded with words that completely shifted the conversation. "If your heart is this certain, don't spend your life running from what keeps finding you." That advice stayed with your soulmate long after the conversation ended. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. But it carried exactly the clarity they needed. From that moment forward, they silently promised themselves they would stop allowing fear to decide their future. Instead, they would begin preparing for the day your paths finally crossed. And without realizing it, that decision may have already started changing the direction of both your journeys. If this story is touching something deep inside you, take a second to like this video, share it with someone who believes meaningful connections exist, subscribe for more inspiring stories like this, and leave a comment telling us which part resonated with you the most. Sometimes one shared thought becomes the beginning of someone else's hope. But the most surprising moment of all was still waiting. Because later that night, something happened that your soulmate never expected to experience, and it left them completely speechless. When the world around them finally became quiet, your soulmate found themselves staring into the night, unable to shake the feeling that today had been different from every other day before it. There was an unexplainable peace mixed with growing anticipation, as though life itself had whispered, "Keep going, you're closer than you think." They didn't receive all the answers they wanted, but they received something far more valuable: a reason to believe. For someone who had spent so much time questioning every feeling, that change was extraordinary. They no longer saw the waiting as empty time. They saw it as the final stretch before something meaningful could unfold. Deep inside, they made one silent promise: when the opportunity to meet you finally arrives, they won't allow doubt to steal that moment. They will choose courage over hesitation, honesty over fear, and hope over uncertainty. What they don't know yet is that while they were making that promise, your own path was quietly shifting in ways you haven't noticed either. Small moments, unexpected encounters, and decisions that seem ordinary today may soon connect in ways that will leave you looking back in amazement. The conversation that began with your name has not truly ended. It has only started creating ripples that continue moving forward. And the next chapter of this